Good afternoon. It is 12:30 on your Wednesday. I hope you are having a great day so far. I'm Julie Broughton. This is Take 6. We're always so happy when you stop by and spend a little bit of time with us to get caught up on your news and weather headlines. Speaking of weather, the story continues to be we are talking about hot conditions and we are talking about dry conditions and that elevated threat of fire. The good news is we are tracking some measurable rainfall that could head our way. We'll time that out for you coming up in just a few minutes, and we will also check in with News 6 anchor Eric Von Aken, and he has some warnings for you about credit card skimmers. He actually had his own credit card scammed, so he's going to tell you what you need to know to keep your money safe. But first, it is a big day. I'm wearing blue. That's because the Magic is getting ready for Game 2 of their playoff series in Boston against the Boston Celtics. Now, the first game didn't exactly go the Magic's way, but we have hope. We believe that things are going to go better tonight and they're going to even out that series. News 6 Sports Director Jamie Say joins us now live from Boston. And Jamie, we're feeling good today. I see you are there in the middle of all the action. First of all, before we get to that, I have to say, did I hear you say yesterday that it's cold where you are, that you should have packed a heavier jacket?
I should have packed a heavier jacket. It's not bad. Today is beautiful here in Boston. I've noticed that the weather fluctuates a lot. We arrived yesterday morning to fog and chilly temperatures. The sun came out, it warmed right up but by the afternoon it was a little chilly again, and then fog set in during the evening. So you know how our summertime weather starts off humid, we can count on a shower in the afternoon and then it cools everything down. I think Boston's weather patterns are somewhat similar in that they're all up and down all day, but it's great to be here in Boston.
Oh, yeah. And so I know that we're all feeling good about tonight. What is the atmosphere there in Boston? I know we've got our blue on. We're ready. We're ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, you have to believe in magic,
Yes.
right? You have to believe in magic. I can tell you this is a city that absolutely loves their Celtics. I'm inside TD Garden where Game 2 will tip off at 7 o'clock. This place will be packed with Celtics fans. So it'll be about 19,000 Celtic fans and Celtics versus the 15 guys on the Orlando Magic, right? It's going to be a hostile environment for the Magic, just like it was in Game 1. But one thing that the Magic can take into this game is that they were able to silence the crowd during quarter number 2 of Game 1. They need to replicate that in quarter number 1, quarter number 3, and quarter number 4 to try and win this game. It would be a huge upset if the Magic won, but anything is possible. The Magic did shoot around on this court a couple hours ago. We were there, and they're confident. They believe in themselves. They understand they're in the playoffs for a reason because they are good enough to be here. So just for that very reason, they believe in themselves, but they know they need to make adjustments and be better than they were in Game 1.
Okay. And so am I correct in that the Celtics' best player will not be playing tonight?
Well, he's questionable.
Okay.
They've listed Jason Tatum as doubtful for tonight's game. He suffered a wrist injury in Game 1. He went from being listed as day-to-day to doubtful. So it might be a game-time decision whether he plays or not. But the Magic, I'm sure, are preparing for both scenarios. Jason Tatum scored 17 in Game 1, but he's usually good for about 27 points per game. He's just a dynamic tremendous player, one of the best in the world. He was a member of the U.S. Men's basketball team, so that tells you something about the quality of player he is. One of the things, though, is that Tatum scored 17 against Game 1, but it was other guys on the Celtics that really stepped up that the Magic had trouble containing. So they know even if Tatum doesn't play, they've got their hands full defensively tonight.
And I know you've been talking to the guys up there. What are you hearing from them? What is the vibe? I know you said they're feeling confident.
Well, I think with the Magic, they always have a good vibe. They always have a good vibe about them. They've expressed confidence. They're ready to play. They're eager for the opportunity, but they know that they've got to make a lot of corrections. The Celtics threw them off their game in the second half. The Magic committed a ton of turnovers. They know they need to cut that down. They can't beat themselves. They can't help Boston out tonight. They know that the Celtics are one of the best offensive and defensive teams in the league. So they know they have to be at their best.
All right. Well, Jamie Say, I know you have a busy day up there. The trips always look so fun and glamorous from afar, but we all know that the trip is feeding the beast that is never full. So I know you've got a lot to get to. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to us, and we will see you later this afternoon on News 6.
Thank you very much, Julie.
All right. Okay, so I have a question for you. Do you have your real ID yet? I just finally got mine a few weeks ago. I feel like I'm kind of late to the game, and if you haven't gotten it yet, in about 2 weeks, you're going to need it if you have plans to make it through an airport. Otherwise, you'll have to use your passport. CBS News' Chris Van Cleve shows us that only about a third of Americans already have their real ID.
From California to Carolina, the real ID rush could become a real problem in just 2 weeks' time. Across Michigan, DMVs are working overtime. About 1 in 4 people here still need the new ID. Darcy Reese got hers outside Detroit Tuesday.
I'm planning on traveling in about 2 months back down to Florida to see my daughter, and was reminded multiple times through TSA that this is a need.
In Minnesota, 59% of IDs still need to be updated, and wait times average as much as 3 hours.
I saw the line, I saw, oh my God.
A CBS News data analysis finds in 30 states, fewer than 70% of eligible residents have a real.
If you don't have to travel May 7th, May 8th, or May 9th, I would encourage you not to.
Airline industry analyst Henry Hartevelt.
So if people are missing flights, airlines are concerned about how do they reaccommodate those people to get them where they're going as quickly as they can.
To get that real ID, you will need documents like a valid ID, passport, or birth certificate, proof of your social security number and date of birth, plus 2 items proving state residency. In Philly, Christopher Ball forgot his social security card, so after waiting for hours, he left without a real ID.
I'm not coming back. I'm not doing this again.
The TSA says about every 1 in 5 flyers passing through checkpoints like this one do not have the real ID, and so could be at a real risk of missing their flights come May 7th. Now, there are some exceptions. If you have a passport, a global entry card, a military ID, or an enhanced ID that some states issue, those are all exceptions that will get you through the checkpoint in lieu of a real ID. Otherwise, TSA says be at the airport at least 3 hours early come May 7th. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News, Detroit.
Okay, so we heard a lot of those people in that story having trouble getting theirs or those long wait times. I will tell you that I went here in Central Florida. It was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was only in there about 15 minutes. I made an appointment before I went, and it was a pretty easy process. So that was my experience. So if you still have to go, hopefully it will be your experience as well. But we got to get that done in the next few weeks if you're planning to travel. Okay, heading across the Atlantic now. Today, the public viewing for Pope Francis got underway after his body was moved to St. Peter's Basilica to Lion State. You're looking now at live pictures from the Vatican. There's been a steady stream of mourners throughout the day. You can see there that long line of people passing through to pay their final respects. The Vatican announced it may extend the time for the pontiff's body to Lion State until Friday at midnight. That will allow more time for the faithful to make the solemn pilgrimage to Rome. You can see there just huge lines. I imagine the wait times are quite long as people file through paying their respects. The funeral for the Pope is set for Saturday morning, and some 200,000 people are expected to attend. We will continue to have coverage throughout the day on News 6 Plus and clickorlando.com. And also, if you're wondering about the process to select the next Pope, we have more information about that for you on clickorlando.com as well. We're going to take a short break, and when we get back, we'll check in with News 6 anchor Lisa Bell. April is Financial Literacy Month, and she has some tips and some things we need to know to protect our money from CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger, and we'll also break down your forecast, including our next best chance of rain. Stay with us. We're back in 2 minutes. It is 12:41. Welcome back to Take 6. I'm Julie Broughton. Thank you so much for hanging around with us this afternoon. We're going to check in with Lisa Bell in just a few minutes and have some tips on protecting your money from CBS News' political analyst. We'll also talk about the forecast. I know we are all hoping for some rain. We desperately need to get some rainfall in here. We do have a little bit in the forecast. I'll break that down in just a moment. But first, have you ever had your credit card skimmed? It happened to me a few years ago. I lost several $100s. Fortunately, I was able to get it back, and this is something that a lot of us have dealt with. It's when bad guys are able to take the information from your credit card or your debit card by using a device that's often placed on a gas pump. News 6's Eric Von Aken just had this happen to him, so he is talking to federal agents about how they're trying to protect our community.
I get a call from the state attorney's office telling me that two guys were picked up here at this racetrack stealing gas with stolen credit cards. Well, when they checked their laptop, they say they found 1,200 stolen credit cards. One of them was mine. This is Assistant Special Agent in Charge Rudolph and Special Agent in Charge Martinez over the entire Southeast region. Thank you both for driving up from Miami today to meet us here at the gas station where this happened here in Orlando. And happened to me. How does the GSA, the General Services Administration of the federal government, even get involved with a local gas theft case like this?
This credit card is how you fuel up your government vehicle.
That got stolen. One of those GSA federal credit cards got stolen.
Yes, it got skimmed from one of these terminals.
We were able to obtain video surveillance footage of some fraudulent activity on that card, where we followed two subjects in pickup trucks equipped with external fuel tanks. We made contact with both of those subjects here in the back of this racetrack. What that revealed was that both subjects were in possession of counterfeit credit cards.
So it was clear when you arrested these two at the back of this racetrack, they had been doing this for a while.
Yes. It's going on everywhere throughout Florida. That we're in the midst of a credit card fraud epidemic.
Epidemic?
Yes.
So what you're telling me is you're doing everything you can, but there's only so much you can do. It's going to take people just not exposing their credit card at gas stations.
Correct.
So some pro tips now from the federal agents. So first thing you guys say you do is you wiggle this?
Yes. Shake this one. Go ahead, try it. You can tell it's sturdy.
Pro tip number 2, you guys only use pumps that are closer in direct line of sight from the front window.
Correct. Most skimmers are going to pick pumps far away from the entrance.
And pro tip number 3 from the federal agents, they say every single time, walk yourself inside and pay in person. Cash is king, of course. They understand that is a total pain. But at least if you're going to use your credit card, do it in the store, because it's a whole lot easier to put a skimmer outside than it is to go inside and put it on a register. Protecting our community in Orlando, Eric Von Aken, News 6.
I feel like I'm going to be a target forever because I can tell you I'm not walking in to pay. I'm just not doing it. It's, I don't know, maybe I should. Maybe I should reconsider. April is Financial Literacy Month, and so there are some things that we all need to know to learn how to better protect our money. News 6 anchor Lisa Bell talked to CBS business analyst Jill Schlesinger. Here's what she had to say.
It is Financial Literacy Month. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger is here to answer some frequently asked questions for us. Mortgage rates. What exactly impacts or sways mortgage rates?
Okay, so we often will talk about the Federal Reserve. Remember, we on a Fed decision day, I come on the air and I'm like, here's what they did. The rates that the Fed controls, those are short-term lending rates, meaning that the rates that they are charging banks to borrow money from the U.S. government, and then the banks will then lend money to us and to businesses. Okay, but the bond market has different aspects to it, not just the short term. There is something called a 10-year treasury. That is what we call the benchmark rate of bonds. And that, when we were talking about the bond market earlier, the amount of money that you're going to demand in interest for 10 years to the U.S. government. That 10-year treasury is what mortgage rates are based off of. So you can see mortgage rates move very differently than, say, shorter term interest rates. Generally, over time, they move in the same direction. But if investors are really freaked out, they think that there's going to be inflation in the future. Sometimes the long-term bonds can be higher yielding than the short-term bonds, and vice versa.
And speaking of the Federal Reserve, President Trump, as we know, has been calling on the Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell, to lower interest rates. But so far, the Federal Reserve is not budging. So what needs to happen to bring interest rates down?
Well, remember that the Fed has two jobs. This is called the dual mandate. So one part of the job is the Federal Reserve is supposed to make sure the economy grows enough to create jobs. So literally, it's like in 1977, Congress said, you got to try to maximize employment. That's one part of your job. But the other part of the job is to make sure that there is price stability, meaning make sure there's no inflation that runs away, because that's really bad. Now, the problem that Federal Reserve is in now is that with the Trump tariffs, there is this fear that those tariffs are going to lead to higher prices and also slow down growth. So that's why last week, Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, said, hey, we don't know what we're going to do. We don't know which is going to be worse right now because we don't have any data yet. So there is no reason that the Fed should move on interest rates right now. This is in my opinion, because they don't know what's going to actually stick to the economy based on these tariffs. So it's been a very uncomfortable week watching the president attack Jerome Powell, the Federal Reserve Chair, for a policy and a problem that the president's tariffs have created. So I think that what you've seen in the last few days is that investors have reacted to the fact that the president really came down hard on Powell and even suggested he would fire Powell. Then they walked that back. Maybe now they're not going to fire Powell. So all of this is to say we want the Federal Reserve to remain independent. That is how it was established in 1913, an independent agency that is supposed to really manage the U.S. banking system.
All right, Jill, as always, thank you. And you can see Jill regularly on CBS Mornings and the CBS Evening News.
And we will have more of Lisa's conversation with Jill later today on News 6 starting at 4. Let's get a check of your forecast, where we are continuing to track hot and dry conditions. Because of that, a lot of burn bans remain in place for many of our Central Florida counties. Here's a look at our current burn bans that are in place until further notice. That includes Volusia, Lake, Seminole, Orange, Polk, as well as Brevard County. Brevard County was added to that list yesterday. Here's a look at the radar as we are sweeping out. We're not finding any showers to track. However, we do have some rain in the forecast as we move toward the end of the weekend and into next week. Satellite and radar imagery showing not much cloud cover hanging around out there either. So we'll see a nice mix of sun and clouds, and that will warm us again above normal. Normal high this time of year is around 85. Right now, we're sitting at 82 in both Orlando and Sanford. The Villages, you are already at 84. It is 79 in Palm Coast and 82 right now in Cocoa Beach. Notice we have a sea breeze. The winds are coming in from the east around 10 to 15 miles per hour along the coast, gusting up to about 18 miles per hour for those of you in Melbourne. Orlando, you are seeing 21 mile per hour wind gusts coming in out of the southeast. So that easterly southeasterly flow will push our sea breeze across the peninsula. Notice the clouds at 7 o'clock, the west coast sea breeze coming inland as well. So we will see a sea breeze collision right along and west of I-75. I do not think there is enough moisture in the atmosphere really to pop any showers. Yesterday, some of the models were indicating that sea breeze collision might generate a few showers, but I do think that the atmosphere is just way too dry for us to really see any rain. So for today, we top out at 90 in Orlando and Kissimmee, 81 in New Smyrna Beach, and 92 for your high today in the Villages. Here's how it looks for the next 7 days. We keep our afternoon highs around 90 degrees, 90 on Saturday. Sunday and Monday, we're watching a front that looks like it will be able to drop into Central Florida. Moisture levels should begin to surge a little bit ahead of that. Right now, we're still keeping rain chances at 20% for Sunday and Monday, and we may be able to add in a few showers as we head through the rest of the week as well, with highs on Tuesday around 87 degrees. We will break down your forecast in much greater detail starting on News 6 at 4. If you have any questions or comments for us here at Take 6, we always love hearing from you. Head to clickorlando.com/take6. Let us know what's on your mind. Again, thank you for spending some time with us, and I'll see you at 4.